Welcome to Folding Towels, a podcast for massage therapists with Jackie and David. If you are enjoying our episodes and want to support the production, consider buying us a coffee. Your contributions help us bring you more insightful discussions and expert interviews. Follow the link in the show notes or visit buymeacoffee.com/Folding Towels podcast to contribute, and thank you for your support. Welcome back to another episode of the Folding Towels podcast. Today is an exciting episode. I'm joined today by a special guest. I'm here today with Garry Lavis. How are you, Gary?
Not bad, mate. Yourself?
Doing really well. I've just been at a course with you for the last 8 hours. How's it been today?
It was a big day.
It's been a big day.
It has.
Now, I've sent you through some questions, and we're just going to launch straight into things, no banter today. And it's a question that we ask all of our guests. And we'll talk about the topic in a moment. But the question that I want to ask you right now is, who is your favorite superhero and why?
Well, that's an easy one. It was Aquaman.
Aquaman.
So I'm an avid scuba diver, so Aquaman's down there amongst the ocean and all the creatures. So,
yeah.
That's where I love to be. So.
How do you feel about Jason Momoa and his portrayal of Aquaman?
Yeah. It's certainly different to the past, isn't it?
Yeah. He's got almost an anti-hero.
Yeah,
it seemed to be like the lamest of the superheroes, according to some of the geeks. But I thought he was quite good.
That's right. I think the new series is pretty good. You know,
they lifted his efforts quite a bit. This is going to be an interesting topic for us today. So Garry here has been working with people with Parkinson's disease for quite some time, and so we're going to talk about his approach to working with people with Parkinson's and some of the clinical outcomes that massage therapists like you and I can have with that specific cohort. So before we talk about that, you've had quite an interesting past. You didn't start out as a massage therapist, and you've gone through a bit of a journey about being big and come back to being yourself as a mobile therapist. Can you just walk us through in just a couple of minutes of the background of Garry?
Sure. Yeah. Look, back in when I was 16, I left school and became a diesel mechanic by trade, and worked for all sorts of places. Generally, I think I started out on cranes, and then I went to trucks and buses, and then earth moving machinery. Then I moved overseas to Canada and spent quite a bit of time in Canada as a mechanic. While I was over in Canada, I started up doing triathlons. So I competed in the Subaru Triathlon Series for 6 years. And a lot of the guys that I competed with and that were my training partners at that were actually massage therapists. So it was those guys that actually convinced me to get into massage. I was always into fitness and knew a lot about the human body. And at that particular time, I was probably at a burning point of being sick of lying under trucks and being full of grease and working night shifts and graveyard shifts and all sorts of stuff. It was a little bit of a lonely sort of job, because working on the big stuff, you tend to be on a job for maybe a week rather than a day. So you could often be, down the back part of the workshop by yourself for, long shifts and long time. But I started out in Canada doing a nursing degree, the first year of a nursing degree, just to see if I could handle the anatomy and physiology and stuff like that. And really, really enjoyed it. And then I moved back to Australia and started my diploma of remedial massage at Loftus TAFE in Sydney. So
it's quite the journey. And you've been through the process of owning clinics with multiple staff underneath you, and and come back to being just yourself.
Exactly. So I've been a massage therapist now since, I think I graduated in the year 2001. So do the math, 2020, for 23 years as a massage therapist now. And my ex-wife and I now got to a point where we bought a very small clinic that was just sold to us from one therapist, a physiotherapist. So we bought that in a little town called Rathmines up in Lake Macquarie, just south of Newcastle in the Hunter Valley, Lower Hunter Valley. And over the years, we had it for about 18 years, and over the years we built that multidisciplinary clinic to the point where we had psychologists, podiatrists, nurses, counsellors, physios, massage therapists. It was a really great multi-modality practice. And then we moved on to buy a second clinic in the Katara region. And I think probably at our most we had between, say, 18 and 20 staff. And so it was a long and a good journey, but it was certainly one that I'm glad I've moved on from, because now I guess I wouldn't say I'm technically looking at semi-retirement, but I'm certainly looking at stepping back and taking things a bit easier. So sold off all my practices. Now I'm strictly mobile. I have an area around Lake Macquarie, particularly the left side of the lake, the left and the northern sides of the lake, which is my sort of zone. About 80% of my coastload would be tradesmen. A very big area in the Hunter Valley for mining and construction and things like that. My aim now, having been through the whole the business side of things, is to keep it simple, as less stress as possible.
Yeah.
So I work Monday to Thursday. I go with the philosophy of work like buggery Monday to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday's mine.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. With 80% of your workload being trades and mines, how is it that you've come to work with people with Parkinson's?
That was really interesting transition. One of my clients, her husband had been diagnosed with Parkinson's quite a few years ago, and she asked me whether I'd be willing to, help him out, and if we could, help him out with his symptoms and all that sort of stuff. It was probably, he was in the early stages of it. I'd say he probably was diagnosed around about his early 50s. So I basically hit the book and talked to a few physios and talked to a few other GPs and things like that, and did a bit of research into Parkinson's, got onto the Parkinson's website and had a bit of a read of it, and talked to a few of my other colleagues, and basically trial and error, went out there, and really the guy that the client that had Parkinson's was exceptionally happy with the results. It was we really mainly addressed his motor control and his lack of mobility, which are two of the biggest symptoms that you get from Parkinson's disease. And it's I think now I would probably have actively probably 5 guys, people with Parkinson's disease. I've had 1 woman in the past, so I've probably treated 6 to 8 clients that have had Parkinson's disease. And look, I'm always really satisfied and feel great about the relief it gives them, and the the reduction in the symptoms that they have. So it's a very, very unfortunate disease. It's in the bracket of the same. It's a neurological disease, so in the same bracket as the diseases like Alzheimer's and dementia, and things like that. So it's plays a huge role with the inability to bring down dopamine, which plays a big role in our motor control and stuff in our bodies. So particularly the tremors that you see Parkinson's people with Parkinson's disease. It's it's a very unfortunate disease, and it's really sad to see the clients going through that. So it's special for me because I get such satisfaction for it, and what I get back from the clients is great. Yeah,
the quality of life.
Yep.
So what are the types of things that therapists need to be aware of when they are treating a client with Parkinson's?
It's a really different experience with Parkinson's disease, and every client that you treat will be different. And I think one of the biggest things that probably I was surprised with was the tremors and how severe they can be, particularly when the clients haven't taken their medication around the time they're having massage. I've literally had clients almost shake themselves off the table, where I've had to almost like tackle them to hold them on the table, and all involuntary, of course. And I think too, one of the greatest challenges is being able to hold your emotions, to be able to see these people suffering from such a terrible disease. Look, I think for a lot of people with Parkinson's disease, it's a death sentence. So down the track, their life expectancy is going to be shorter. They know that. A couple of my clients often talk about the fact that they're never going to see their grandkids. They're not going to see their children turn into adults and, be mothers and fathers and stuff like that. And that can be, just being part of that conversation can be very difficult sometimes.
Mm-hmm. So how do you modify your approach when you're working with someone at various stages of Parkinson's?
Well, I think people with Parkinson's tend to like to be open about it, and they want to be treated normally. So I think the best approach is to go out, be with the client, be fully transparent about what you're doing, be willing to listen, and be able to and let them be heard, and to listen to their stories. So I think a lot of the approaches are probably a little bit more listening, a little bit less talking, but just let them know that you're there for them, and that you're doing your best to look after them and make the process of the disease as easy as possible for them.
Coming through massage school 20-something years ago, most of the focus was on muscular skeletal things, and at some point in time you expect someone to move forward and recover from whatever ailment they have. This is not the case for Parkinson's, and they are the experts of their body. They do know where they are at their point in time, but in terms of our remedial outcomes, there is no real endpoint of recovery for them. And I think some therapists do find that a bit disheartening.
Yes, absolutely. And probably the biggest thing for me, clients that I've seen for probably 3 and 4 years now, to watch how much they've degenerated in that time. So, one of my clients has probably gone from having moderate tremors to severe tremors, and now getting the palsy in the face, the inability to communicate and talk properly, the contracture in the muscles, the frozen shoulder, the lateral and medial epicondylitis, all of those things that are associated with all the flexors of the body. And yet then I have other clients that have gone in and had the surgery where they've had the probes put into their head, which reduces the tremors. And I've been blown away where one guy was literally, squirming around like a worm on the table 1 week, and a month later coming back from the surgery with the electronic probes in the brain, and was almost still. So in some ways, although they're not achieving so much more of a life expectancy at the moment, they're making people with Parkinson's a lot more comfortable. And that's my approach with massage as well. The whole approach is, the biggest hurdle that musculoskeletal-wise that people with Parkinson's are going to have is their range of mobility. So, I look at my job as just making that journey for them as easy as possible.
Most of the treatments that are offered are palliative in nature, and are in making that person be as comfortable as possible, the best quality of life they can possibly have. And that's quite a special thing to be able to offer another person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you share any specific challenges you face when providing massage therapy to people with Parkinson's?
Again, the sort of protocols around safety with the tremors. I think the tremors are the biggest shock of the lot. Again, witnessing the deterioration, and also noticing from a proprioception point of view, you can see the degrading in the client, where they may have points similar to Alzheimer's, where they'll have a blank when they're talking to you, and then it'll take a little while for them to sort of come good and get their sort of consciousness back, or their ability to think straight. So I think you've got to teach yourself patience, and just be willing to listen, and just give them the encouragement that they need. I think that's, and also the effect that it has on their family. A lot of the clients that I treat with Parkinson's, I also treat certain members of their family, and that's just as hard a journey for them as it is for the client with Parkinson's disease.
Well, how do clients typically respond to massage when they are going through or living with Parkinson's?
Well, I think from a starting point of view, they're probably fairly skeptical, because massage has certainly not been something that's been common with with treating people with Parkinson's in the past. So there's probably a fair bit of skepticism around it because they have such severe symptoms. But some of my clients are so satisfied with the with the outcomes of massage, they can't believe that it hasn't been, something that's been hooked up or partnered with Parkinson's in the past. So it's a really important thing for me, and thus why I've, got such strong thoughts around, designing a protocol for our certification program for, our members to be able to go out and help and treat people with Parkinson's disease.
Yeah, I did a quick search before we caught up today, and I didn't find any specific training aimed at massage therapists for working with people with Parkinson's. So this is some market leading work that you're engaged with.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of the other therapists that actually treat Parkinson's, obviously they go to physio for strength work, but physio is very exercise based these days. So the soft tissue release and the manual therapy is so beneficial for people with massage. So this opens up a whole range of new skills for us to be able to apply to people with Parkinson's and for them to take advantage of that. So.
In my own limited experience of working with people with Parkinson's, they've got their support network around them, and it's dealt with mainly through the now I've forgotten the terminology, through the traditional health means. And so they've got their GP, they've got their specialists, their neurologist, they're doing their rehab through physiotherapy, they've got their exercise physiologist, and when they're coming in for massage, they're saying, I just want someone who is going to show me some care. I just want someone who's going to touch me.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's a very special privilege.
That it is.
Yep. Yeah. Do you enjoy a good working relationship in collaboration with other health professionals?
I do. Yes. No, I certainly do. I think the clinics that I've owned in the past were multidisciplinary, and I think the model of being able to work with other, modalities is very important. I brought up the subject today about working with chiropractors, and I was just quite a lot of my clients have chiropractic work as well as their massage, and I think that they can complement each other in such a great way. We talked today about how, a client having massage therapy, say regularly for maintenance, would get a much better result from chiropractic because the muscle tension's been backed off, and which would allow the chiropractic therapist to get a much better manipulation, a better result. So I think they sort of complement each other quite well.
So when someone comes to you and they've had their diagnosis for Parkinson's,
yes,
how do you go about the assessment process? How would you interact with that person? How will you guide them through about what to expect the treatment will hold?
I think it's very important that they understand what massage is all about, and a lot of them will have, just like the general public will have the wrong perception of massage in terms of it's all about, Kenny G, playing Kenny G in the background and candles and all that sort of stuff. And when they understand that it's a full functional program based around, increasing their mobility, quite robust, deep tissue type stuff, I think that brings, a lot of nerves down and brings some information out on the table that they're pretty happy about. Obviously, some of the hurdles for us is I have to understand, some of the medications that they're on and the side effects of those medications. I have to understand that at particular times of day is better for them to take their medications so that they can reduce the tremors to make my job easier when I'm massaging them. So we have to have that conversation about timing your medication before you massage, a couple of hours before you massage, allowing it to get into their system so that it can make my job easier. You have to be very careful, always understand that there's the potential that a Parkinson's person could have a fall. If they're taking their clothes off to be able to get on the bench, you need to be super sure that you're going to make sure you've got them. They're not going to fall back. They're not going to fall over. They're very unstable on their feet, and the same for getting the client off the table. So it's very, very different from a normal client where you would leave the room when they were, getting disrobed for them to get on the table. With a Parkinson's person, you've got to be there all the time. And, that's super important, very unstable. So.
Yes. What are some of the common pathologies that you would have to treat in working with someone with Parkinson's?
Yep. So a lot of that comes from the results of their tremors and their involuntary muscle contractions. So you'd be looking at things. People with Parkinson's are very susceptible to, like frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis, your tennis and golfer's elbow, carpal tunnel syndrome, anything that like your flexors and your extensors. They get very, very stiff necks because a lot of the time their head will move with tremors. Often sore jaws as well because they lose the lack of ability to talk, and they can almost have like a palsy in their face. So yeah, all of those sort of symptoms that are associated with the mobility, general mobility during the day. So. And so many of them have difficulty sleeping.
Yes.
And that has a roll-on effect with their partner then has their, a poor sleep because they're tremoring all night during the night. They can't sleep. Their partner can't sleep. It then gets to a point where they go to separate bedrooms, which then has that ongoing effect of affecting the personal relationship.
Yes.
So it's a terrible disease.
You find that you play a little bit of a role of counsellor in that process as well?
I do, but you've also got to, also keep in the back of the mind that you're not a psychologist and you don't know the answers. So I've always gone in with the whole philosophy of listen more, talk less.
Yes.
Yeah, and just letting them know that they're being heard, not necessarily coming up with a solution.
So where have you gone to find information to help you with your understanding of Parkinson's, and where can other therapists to go if they are interested in working with this cohort to learn more?
Yep, sure. So there's Parkinson's Australia, which is an association that has all sorts of different help for people with Parkinson's, and then they have small contact groups around my area, particularly in Newcastle and then Lake Macquarie. There's like Parkinson's help groups, like a support group, and they have people come in and do lectures from different modalities and different things about Parkinson's. People that can offer different, like support and walkers and all the aids,
aids and supports,
aids and supports. So I've been asked by one of my clients to do a talk for their local Parkinson's support group, which I'm looking forward to. But we've certainly only in the infancy of putting this protocol together for Parkinson's. So we've got a lot of work to do.
Yes,
to get it right.
Yeah. So you are in the process of developing this module aimed at massage therapists who wish to work with people with Parkinson's. What are the types of things will be covered within that module?
Well, again, the safety around Parkinson's, exactly what we talked about was that their ability to get on and off the bench, the psychological effect that it has. A lot of people with Parkinson's are very, very heavily depressed. Okay. They have a lack of ability to talk. There's some of my clients that I can barely understand, and I have to have the wife there to be able to, almost act as like a language
an interpreter,
and tell me what the guy's saying, because I just can't. You can't pronunciate his words enough for me to be able to understand it. And then I have, there's such a wide range of different, out of probably the 5 active clients that I have at the moment with Parkinson's. I've got one guy who can barely walk, yet another guy who can, looks relatively unaffected, obviously in the very early stages of Parkinson's. So, I think it's of utmost importance that what we put in this protocol, all of the challenges that you're going to face. And, it's right now I'm getting all that experience together and, trying to put all this into a module that I can put out there for other, for other therapists to experience, which is great. So
what are the challenges in forming anything to work with a specific cohort? There's this expectation that you'll come away with a protocol or a sequence. We're talking about learning specific skills, learning to understand, but more so about the disease and the disease management then, and the person management then.
And I think, like I said, the variety of clients that I have. I've got one guy that can barely talk, yet another guy, his biggest problem at the moment is his big toe. because his big toe tremors so much in his shoe, it rubs the skin away and creates like a blister. So I've gone to taping his big toe to his second toe and been able to stabilize his toe in his shoe. And just that small amount of thought created such a difference for him. He was so happy and impressed. But, unfortunately, this guy's got a lot of other symptoms that are going to come his way in the future. But he was just so appreciative for to be able to give that toe the thought that it needed at the time. Yes, it's very, very interesting. It fascinates me every day.
So how do you manage the physical and the emotional demands of working with clients who have a progressive condition like Parkinson's?
I guess I've always been a very physical person. So I grew up playing rugby league and then got into playing rugby league professionally in Australia. I went overseas and did triathlons. I've always been, fairly active, doing weights in the gym and things like that. I've always been a very active person. So, yes, it is an extremely physical job, particularly treating patients with or clients with Parkinson's. So, I just think you have to have the mindset, and you need to be a very physical person to be able to, to be able to deal with people with Parkinson's. It's not the sort of thing that is light on. Again, the way I need to assist my clients to get up onto the bench. These guys can be anywhere between 80 and 120 kilos. It takes a lot of nous and a lot of thought to be able to figure out how to get someone onto a bench that is trembling at the same time, or tremoring at the same time. So it's there's a lot of thought that goes into that, and every experience I have, I'm going to put it into this protocol so that other therapists can experience this, and have a bit of an upfront, message about what their expectations should be.
How do you manage the emotional demands of working with this cohort?
Very emotional. Yep. As you would be aware, working as a massage therapist, you are very close to people. People tend to open up and talk about their feelings. Again, people with Parkinson's is they have a death sentence. I had one of my clients actually say to me the other day, he said, the advantage of dying with Parkinson's is you get the chance to say goodbye to people.
Yeah.
And wow, that was a hit to the system. He said, unlike when you drop dead, you leave the world behind you. But he says, at least one positive is that I know I'm going to die, and that I can talk to my kids and talk to my family and officially say goodbye. That's pretty hard to listen to.
Yes. Yeah. Where do you go for support?
Unfortunately, I think my poor wife cops the brunt of that. But no, I'm thankful that she allows me to listen and downside and open up and let my feelings out, and download was the word I was looking forward to download on her occasionally. So I'm appreciative for that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, with that notion that at least you do get the chance to say goodbye, at some point as therapists we have to say goodbye to our client as well.
Yes, that we do.
Yeah, and that's something that's not taught in schools either. Is that the end of life conversation?
Absolutely. I have had several clients pass away on me over my years as a massage therapist. I've had one guy that had a autoimmune disease and passed away, and I saw him and helped him during his palliative stage, right up to the day before he died. And it was a very emotional time to go to his funeral, and a guy that I had been seeing for probably weekly or fortnightly for 10 years, and watching him degrade and get closer and closer to the death, to the point where I actually even went to the hospital in the ward and massaged him, right up to his very last hours, which was great.
I did meet a therapist once here in Adelaide who was in the field of palliative massage, and he talked about people taking their final breaths on his table, and he just, what a privilege it is to be in that position, and what a way to go, being nurtured and supported through those hours of discomfort.
Absolutely. I think, the great thing that you witness is how the families bond around. All of the kids are there, the mum's there, the parents are there. It's the whole family gets together and really, looks after, the person until their very last days, which is very, very, very encouraging. And the one thing I love to, when I say I'm more of a listener than a talker, I love to take that advantage of wisdom, and particularly with somebody that's dying, they look at the world in a different way because they look at the world as simple. All the thoughts about wanting to be rich and having a better car and going the parties and doing this is all becomes irrelevant. They just want to be with their family and love them, and life becomes very, very simple. And I think one of the gifts, if anything, that Parkinson's can give you is that ability to be able to appreciate life more.
Yes. So, who have you been collaborating with in developing this module, and what feedback or input have you received from other professionals or clients that has influenced the content of this training module?
Yes, well, I think basically the actual idea came from the clients that I'm treating, because they struggle to get access to the sort of work that we do, and they basically asked me, "Look, Garry, what can we do to get massage into the Parkinson's world and help us out here?" And I thought, well, you know what, I'm in a pretty good position here that maybe I could have a little bit of influence. I started back on the board of directors about 3 years ago as a national president again for another term. And when I came back on to the term for my term as president, I thought to myself, okay, let's put together a strategic plan where every director on the board has an initiative about something they're really, really passionate about, something that they want to drive. So the ideas across the board were really varied. We had one particular director that wanted to do an initiative on making sure that people in rural areas had better access to education for massage. So we've put out scholarships now for rural people to be able to apply to come to capital cities to do workshops and learn more. We've had one of the directors introduced scholarships for our members to be able to go overseas to the Olympics and to cycling events and tennis events and all that sort of stuff. So I sat down and thought to myself, okay, what do I really want to do? What am I passionate about? And I thought, well, what I'm passionate about is the clients that I treat, and at least half a dozen of these guys are Parkinson's, And I thought, wow, how good could this be? An initiative on Parkinson's disease. So again, still trying in the infancy stage, still trying to get together as much information, talking to Parkinson's Australia, trying to get these support groups together, get as much information as we can, go through some research, and see what we've had in the past with any research. We're actually attending a research conference here tomorrow in Adelaide, tomorrow in Adelaide, and so we're going to be asking questions about what have we got available that we can include in this module to help us, be able to put all this information together and, allow massage therapy to play a larger role in the Parkinson's world.
And it's a role that massage therapists did play 30, 40 years ago. But it's a role that's been lost to other modalities.
Yeah. Well, I think physiotherapy itself hasn't been around for that long. And I think physiotherapists tend to evolve from massage.
Yes.
Where, years back, physio was massage, but now they've moved on and evolved into different things. But unfortunately, in some ways, for physios, they've left a lot of the soft tissue behind and gone more towards the exercise-based stuff, where I think that the soft tissue modality and the techniques that we have still have a lot to offer the public, and particularly, for people like Parkinson's.
So what's your time frame for completing this module? When can we expect it to be available?
I'd like to think it would be available within the next couple of years. We've got a lot of initiatives to put up on board. We're also going to make sure that we've got the funding to be able to do it, talk to the right people, do the job and do it well. But I'm not particularly a guy that takes on stuff and doesn't like to finish it. So it's something I'm going to see through to the end. So.
Are you open to massage therapists reaching out to you now to ask questions about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, the more that we can get massage therapists on board helping people with Parkinson's, the better.
Yeah. And how is the best way for massage therapists to get in contact with you?
They can contact me through the association.
Yeah.
Ring the office or at president@mma.com.au.
So Garry here is the national president of the Massage and Myotherapy Australia Association, the largest association for massage and myotherapists in Australia. We've been catching up today after a member training event, and you've been the national president now for 3 years.
3 years this time round. I've been a national president for 7 years in total, going into my 8th year next year, and I think I've been on the board for probably 12 years now. Not not consecutive years, but in smaller terms.
Is there anything else that you would like therapists to take away from today's conversation?
If anything, I want to start a conversation. So, the more people that we can get, the more input we can get, the more information, the more questions we can get. We're going to start turning around talking to our GPs and promoting what massage can have, how that can benefit people. That's one thing I've got really back well is the initiatives and the cooperation with the GPs that work with me now with the Parkinson's. They can see the results and they're really, really happy with the results they're getting. So it's great to get a phone call from a GP thanking me for my great work, which is
it's an unusual phone call to get as well.
Absolutely, it doesn't happen very often. So it makes me feel pretty proud. So
yes. Well, I've enjoyed our conversation today, Garry. As I said, Garry is the national president of Massage and Myotherapy Australia. He is contactable. We will put his details in the show notes. Please, if you have any questions about working with people who have Parkinson's disease, please reach out to Garry. Keep a lookout for the new module, which will be coming out in the next couple of years. And perhaps you can play a role in helping in the development of that module.
Yep.
So if you haven't enjoyed this conversation with Garry and with other guests that have appeared on the Folding Towers podcast, please head on to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and consider leaving us a rating or a review. So I've really enjoyed our conversation today, Garry. Thank you for being our guest today.
I think it might be time for a cold beer.
Yes, I agree on that one.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you in the next episode.
Take it easy.